I don't know who needs to hear this, but the pain, the suffering, the trials and the tribulations, the days of waking up and not knowing what to do with yourself, baby, all those are coming to an end. They didn't know that all this was just temporary. It was temporary. This type of life wasn't allowed to stay. This type of energy wasn't allowed to stay. It wasn't allowed to be forever in your life because, again, this was just another hump in what you call your testimony in your story. This was just supposed to be one of those things you experienced so you could go back and say you understand what people are going through more than just a textbook version of a struggle. You've actually endured this type of life. But truth be told, you've always were meant for a better, more fit life, deserving of a life where you don't have too much stress because, baby, the lengths you'll go through to help a stranger, let alone another person, and same for me. They're just crazy. And you gotta remember, the energy you give out is initially the energy you get back. And when you're out here being a servant of God and not expecting anything in return, eventually, somewhere along the way, all that energy comes back. Sometimes at once. And the struggle of a life wasn't allowed to stay. Suffering wasn't allowed to stay. Sorrow and the weeping wasn't allowed to stay. None of it was allowed to be permanent. And this is the beautiful thing about this, because these folks didn't know that it was just temporary. And they sat back watching, thinking that this was going to be your portion, that this was going to be what you have sown in this season. As I stated before, back in plenty of other readings, haha, look at this person and their struggle. It's all fun and games until the tables are flipped, because even Jesus in this season wasn't having it, baby. They didn't know it wasn't here to stay. In this season, a lot of people are going to find out that a lot of things aren't permanent, and that the whole time this was just a temporary facade that God utilized to kind of veil his people so people would never know from jump who you were. Imagine if they knew how great you were, who you were to God early on. They would have done things and went about things so differently. God needed this to be a way not only for you to gain positive momentum in your karma, but for them to gain their portion and theirs as well. And we all know what that looks like. Not too much on the bright side. In this season, people are finding out what's permanent and what's temporary, what's here to stay and what's not. In this season, you are being rewarded for what you have sown and what you have done. You're about to find out in this season you're more than just a temporary phase. And the mark you have made is just as effective as the damage they have done in this season. Roles are being reversed big time here. And a lot of God's people are grasping on to what they have known to been theirs for a long time. Reverse Uno, bitches.